Begin Podfix Network transmission. In 3, 2, 1.
Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean casting nets, fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
Well, hello and welcome to the Fish Nerds, the show about fish, fishing, and eating fish. Show that's always interesting, usually funny, and mostly true. I'm Clay Groves, Chief Executive Fish Nerd, Licensed Fishing Guide, your best friend. And it's November, which makes it National Podcast Posting Month. And that means for the next 30 days, every day, you're going to get a brand new episode of the Fish Nerds podcast. Last year, we did fishy jokes for 30 days. The year before that, I can't even remember what we did. We did something the year before that. And this year, we're going to do 30 days of fishing tips along with some regular episodes as well. So we'll still get in some regular episodes. We have been kind of slow on releasing this fall. My new job has not allowed me to have the time behind the microphone I want, but I'm going to force it for you because it is National Podcast Posting Month. Now, in my last episode of the podcast, I complained an awful lot about how I hate circle hooks. And so far, I do hate them, except I like what they do for the fish, but not for me, the fisher person. I'll tell you why. So the circle hooks, if you don't know, are designed to avoid gut hooking fish when you're bait fishing. And here on the East Coast, they're primarily used for fishing for striped bass. And you catch a live mackerel, you stick a circle hook in the face of the mackerel, drop it in the ocean, and then striped bass hits it. And I went striped bass fishing, and I was doing this with circle hooks, and I had many, many fish grab my bait, and not one was able to get to the boat, and I blamed the circle hooks. And I complained about it here on this podcast. And then I got lots and lots of emails and messages on Facebook from you listeners, and all of you complaining that I was wrong about circle hooks. And you are correct. I am wrong about circle hooks. Wrong because I don't know how to use them is what you said. And that is completely accurate. But anyway, the idea is we don't gut hook a fish, and that is a good outcome. But I really did want to want to do them. So let's talk about using circle hooks as our fishing tip today for how to use circle hooks to catch striped bass. And this is an article I found on the Water magazine. I'll put a link up in the show notes. And the recommendation for size for stripers, the size of the circle hook you use for striped bass rigs depends on the size of your bait. So yeah, use the right size. For large baits like Manhattan bunker or pogies, an 8/0 hook is ideal. For chunk bait and live eels, which by the way, I got a problem with using live eels, but we'll talk about that in another episode. Use a 6/0 hook. Smaller baits like sea worms, rig on a 2/0, and large baits, use a bridle rig when rigging for striped bass. And a bridle rig is like an 8-ounce sinker up to a 3-way swivel with about 5 feet of leader fluorocarbon on that to the circle hook in your bait. Kind of holds it in the current for you. And that's how you do it. All right. So that's our circle hook size. And how to fish them is pretty simple. I mean, you just theoretically let the fish eat the bait and then reel in steadily. You don't set the hook. Apparently, if you set the hook will get pulled out. Now, when I was striper fishing, that's what I did. The fish took the bait, and I was very mindful not to set the hook. I just kind of reeled in as steady as I could and kept pressure on it, hoping to hook it in the face of these striped bass. And I failed. I didn't hook a single one. I did fight several all the way to the boat and see them, and it turns out they were just hanging on to the mackerel until they saw me. They went, "Oh, I don't want to come on that boat." And even my friend Dave Kellum, who was fishing with me, the ones he landed, the hook was never, ever engaged into the mouth of the fish. It was never even buried into the lip of the fish. They just were hanging on long enough for me to get the net under them. So now I'm thinking about it. Maybe it wasn't my fault I didn't catch the fish. Maybe Dave was not very good at netting the fish out. Maybe the fish he caught were the fish I caught. Anyway, circle hooks are not that complicated. But I haven't liked them because I haven't been successful. And to all of you who complained about them, and Ed, I'm talking to you specifically from Manga Bay, I'm sorry. I will do better next time. Anyway, if you've got fishing tips, we have 30 days of National Podcast Posting Month. 30 days is a lot of content to create for you, and I would love to include your tips and tricks here for fishing for National Podcast Posting Month. So if you want to give us a call, just call us at 607-378-FISH, leave a voicemail, and I'll use your voicemail on one of our episodes coming up this month. Tell us your favorite fishing tip. Anything you want. Could be how to tie a knot. Could be how to catch a specific kind of fish. How to fish a certain kind of lure. And if you've got a podcast or a product you want to plug while you're in it, you can certainly do that. Now, I am working on an episode with Tim Beat from the Lure Love podcast. He and I and Charlie McGee went fishing for lake trout. So that is coming up hopefully later this week. I'll pick that one up. And I'll have another fishing tip for you again tomorrow on the Fish Nerds podcast for National Podcast Posting Month. That's all I got today. That's all I got. I think that's the end.
Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean, casting nets, Fish Nerds. Fish Nerds. Fish Nerds. It's a podcast.
Just for the halibut!
Fried in a basket or broiled in a pan. Eat it raw like you're in Siam. Fish Nerds. Fish Nerds. Fish Nerds. It's a podcast.